Nigeria reviews broadcasting code ahead of digital switchover.
To take urgent steps to protect indigenous languages from extinction, Information and Culture Minister advises Nigerians.
And on Good Morning Nigeria today, our focus is on promoting high export value agri-produce.
At independence, Nigeria was predicted to achieve greatness within a short time due to her huge human and natural resources. But the country still grapples with basic challenges despite the huge potentialities.
That's right, Kirian. We're still discussing potentialities after more than 5 decades of self-governance. And of course, the reason is attributed to a lot of factors, including leadership failure and wrong priorities.
Now, talking about getting priorities right, Kinsley,
Right.
the country is going back to the basics as the economic diversification policy seeks to look into areas where the country has comparative advantage other than oil sector to propel economic development.
Agriculture, which is the main economic activity of the populace, is again being given high priority, with the government doing a lot to ensure that the sector is not only attractive but also valuable.
And now, while attention is being given to production of some food crops and few other cash crops, there are high export value agricultural produce that Nigeria has huge potentialities and have been major players in the production and export to world markets.
Now, crops such as ginger, of which Nigeria is the third largest exporter in the world, after China and India. That's one example. Now, the country is also said to have the highest land area under ginger cultivation globally, representing over 45% of the world's total.
And you find out that 70% of ginger produced in Nigeria are exported, and about 510,000 metric tons is annually produced, which those who know say is still far below the country's potentialities.
Now, Nigeria is also a major player in the sesame seed market in the world, producing about 500,000 metric tons each year, out of which some 60 to 70% is exported.
And now, talking about sesame seeds, Nigeria's sesame seeds holds high value for export and is currently in hot demand all over the world, owing to its many health benefits and nutritional content. Sesame seed is Nigeria's biggest agricultural produce exported to Japan.
Now, Merchandise Trade Intensity Index analysis released by the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics shows that sesame seed worth some 6.5 billion naira was exported, representing nearly 40% of agricultural exports between October and November last year, that's 2016.
And with exports of about 100 tons of shea butter annually, Nigeria is believed to account for almost 60% of the world's supply of shea butter and allied derivatives, valued at about $3.8 billion every year.
Now, analysts indicate that Nigeria could in fact have done a lot better with this high export value agri-produce if their production were not left only to peasant farmers, and indeed if more attention was paid to cultivation as well as post-harvest handling.
Yes, indeed, and perhaps that explains the decision by the federal government to earmark 263 million naira to boost the production and export of gum arabic, products that the country earned more than $43 million from its export in 2016, for instance.
All right, so how can Nigeria consolidate and even expand her market share of the commodities that we've talked about? We talked about ginger, we talked about sesame seed, we also, of course, just talked now about gum arabic. And what should Nigeria do to further, leverage on our potentialities in these agri-produce? Who should drive the process between the public and private sectors? These are some of the questions we shall attempt to provide answers to in the course of the program, which is Good Morning Nigeria. I am Kingsley Osadolo.
And I am Kirian Umayo, joining Kingsley to welcome you to today's edition of the program, coming to you from the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority.
All right, now in the course of the program, we shall bring you our regular companion segments, including newspaper review, business, sports, and others. In the meantime, we are kicking off, and our guy this morning is Anne Jibuno. Hi, Anne, how are you?
Yeah, good morning, gentlemen. Good to see you this morning. Good morning and welcome to the news. The National Information Technology Development Agency, nta, says Nigerians should observe some precautionary measures to protect their systems from cyber attack. Investigations show that the current attack, known as ransomware, is no doubt the biggest attack in recent times. This offensive maneuver, usually employed by anonymous sources to either steal or destroy specific system targets, is on the increase.
That we use operating system that is well secured, because if you allow it, the system of the government to be compromised, then you will put the country in trouble. So that is why all MDS should comply with this. Any software that is pirated should not be used. Pirated copy has no security. Number 3, they should make sure that they have up-to-date antivirus to be updating their systems. And number 4, which is very critical, any data we have that we know is very important, there must be backup. And whenever there is any attack or they see anything suspicious, they should immediately alert us.
An attack on a JAM official by a candidate at a center in Abia State almost marred the examination in the center, but for the quick intervention of security agents. In spite of this, the Minister of State for Education, Professor Anthony Onwuka, has expressed satisfaction with the conduct of the examination nationwide.
The exercise is going on well. So what we're doing today, I think it's excellent.
Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed has warned that Nigeria's indigenous languages are at the verge of extinction if urgent steps are not taken to protect them. The minister stated this in his address to the opening of a 2-day round table on cultural orientation, jointly organized by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture and the National Institute for Cultural Orientation in Kaduna.
The role of the electronic media in disseminating, aggregating, and curating our indigenous languages cannot be overemphasized. There is serious potential in the plethora of programs on radio, television, and on the web to spread the comprehension, appreciation, and adoption of indigenous languages.
The Nigeria Broadcasting Commission has commenced a review of its broadcasting code. This is to help meet emerging trends in the broadcast industry and transit from analog to digital broadcasting. Elizabeth Ila Lamido reports that broadcasters from different media organizations are attending the retreat expected to last 3 days in Kano.
Is the most important guiding document for professional engagement in Nigerian broadcasting.
While the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons and Other Related Matters, NAPTIP, and Women Trafficking and Child Labor Eradication Foundation, Whatcliff, have agreed that the scourge of human trafficking can only be fought frontally with aggressive awareness campaigns at local, state and federal levels. The consensus was reached in Abuja at a meeting with Whatcliff Board of Trustees and the management of NAPTIP.
In the next few months, therefore, NAPTIP will come up with a template to ensure comprehensive synergy amongst all stakeholders. We will not impose this template on stakeholders, but will hold discussions on it. And anyone who runs foul of it afterwards will face necessary sanctions.
The Ministry of Science and Technology is collaborating with the Sports Ministry in advancing a strong base in sporting activities in Nigeria. Minister of Science and Technology, Dr. Ogbonnaya Onu, stated this at a meeting with members of the organizing committee of Dr. Akanu Ibiam's Super Cup competition, led by Dr. Ademola Are.
Through sports, we will bring together our young people so that they will start early to know one another. So somebody from Sokoto State will be competing with someone from Rivers State. As they interact at that early age, they will now see that the things that hold them together or hold us together as a nation, that they are more important than those things that, even divide us.
Well, that's the news for now. Kieran and Kingsley will be back after this break.
If you hear a bomb explosion or gunshots of an active shooter, that might be a terror attack. At such times, always remember 3 action words: run, hide, report. Don't try to run towards the terror scene to save the situation, because there might be a second bomb blast or another attack. Run far away and take cover. Make sure you are safe first. Yes, it is in our nature to sympathize over the hurt, but remember, only trained personnel can help in such situations. When in a secured environment, promptly call relevant authorities and help will come. For anonymous reporting, call 09630-3250-5 or 0813-2222-106. If you see something, say something. Nigeria, unite against terrorism. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
So what's up, sweetheart? You really look like you're up to something.
I have a secret.
Okay.
I'll be going to Europe next week.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Like you have your visa, your passport, your plane ticket?
No, not that way. Some men are helping us. We pay them, they take us through the desert, and then we cross the sea into Europe.
The desert, the sea. Isn't that the route where many have died?
Yes, it is indeed a very dangerous journey. In 2016 alone, 4,900 people died while crossing the Mediterranean Sea to enter Europe. Many were Nigerians. For the very few who survived the journey, they are forced into prostitution or other crimes just to survive. Eventually, they will be arrested and deported to Nigeria. Don't be a victim. Don't go this way.
This is a public service announcement brought to you by NTA.
Now on business news, as continental attention focuses on Abuja for the Infrastructure Summit by the Africa Finance Corporation, call for support of the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan continues. Details with Leah Kaltum Babatunde.
The federal government says it will continue to invest in the youth to actualize the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan, ERGP. Minister of Budget and National Planning Udoma Odoma, while responding to questions in his office, affirmed the plan seeks to create a platform for all Nigerians to grow.
When we tap the resources of our youth, we can really transform this nation.
He said that though they met an economy severely battered, government is determined to get it fixed and will do so.
Right now, we have turned things around. There's increasing confidence in the economy and in the future. We still have a lot of work to do, but things are very positive.
The minister solicited the support of Nigerians to make the ERGP a success. The Economic Recovery and Growth Plan is a 4-year plan designed to pull the economy out of recession and reposition it for sustained, inclusive and expansionary growth. Now, Director of Policy of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Mr. Moses Tule, has said that with a well-implemented Economic Recovery and Growth Plan of the federal government, the outcome should be different from the 1.9% IMF forecast for the country. The International Monetary Fund had on May 9 forecast a meager 1.9% for Nigeria in 2018, owing to a consistent lull in global commodity prices. in a presentation on the IMF Sub-Saharan Outlook in Abuja. Tule noted that the shock in the prices of commodities adversely hit about 83% of countries in the region, adding that for resource-intensive countries, it triggered huge budgetary constraints and fiscal deficits.
The price shocks precipitated significant record economic downturn in sub-Saharan Africa in 2016.
He said huge public debt also followed due to humongous borrowing, with inflation skyrocketing to as high as 18.2% in Nigeria and 42% in Angola. Nigerian economic watchers have expressed optimism over the injection of a fresh $500 million into the Nigerian Sovereign Investment Authority, NSIA, saying it will go a long way in helping the government actualize its notions of providing better life for Nigerians. Acting President Yemi Osinbajo in Abuja inaugurated the new board of the Nigerian Sovereign Investment Authority and disclosed that fresh injection of $500 million will be put into the scheme. At the inauguration of the board, the acting president said the fund was part of the federal government's drive for economic growth and infrastructure development and charged it to improve on the performance of NSIA by investing in key priority areas of the government, such as agriculture and infrastructure. Economic watchers believe the gesture, in spite of the current fiscal constraints, shows federal government's commitment to improve the performance of the authority and strengthen its operations as part of its commitment to savings. The newly inaugurated board is chaired by Mr. Babajide Zetlin and will serve for a term of 4 years. Now, equities on the Nigerian Stock Exchange lost steam to begin the week in the red, with the all-share index losing by 2.41%. Let's take a quick look at closing figures from the Nigerian Stock Exchange. And that is business news for this, and thank you for watching.
All right, thank you very much, dear Alia Katung Babatunde, for the business package. Next for us, we are looking at the front pages of some of the papers we have this morning.
Newspaper review is next on Good Morning Nigeria. And our guest today is our own colleague, Omini Oden. Omini, you're welcome to Good Morning Nigeria studio.
Thank you so much. My pleasure being here. Good morning, Nigeria.
All right, let's begin by taking a look at the front page of the Trust newspaper.
All right. Just below the nameplate of Daily Trust for today, we have a tension in Jigawa local government over disputed land. And the lead story on the front page of Daily Trust this morning's budget faces fresh hurdle at National Assembly, as Osinbajo discusses funding with ministers and, of course, CBN governor. And below the photo story on the Daily Trust, you have on the left side, Saraki falls anti-graft war. That story is on page 7. And, of course, followed by federal government shops for replacement as 16 permanent secretaries retire. Page 3 has details of that story. And then FAN reactivates Ebola screening points at the airport. Of course, we heard about Ebola outbreak in Congo. And the story is on page 4. Let's see how the FAN has been able to reinstall all the gadgets, designated for Ebola screening at the airport. Well, that is for now from here.
All right, let's take a look also at the front page of the Sun newspaper, which is next for us now. The Sun newspaper has as its lead story, of course, says federal government, Saraki and Dogara fight over anti-corruption war. And there are a number of riders to that headline. Fight is selective and sensational. That's according to the Senate President Saraki. We are fighting symptoms, that says House Speaker Dogara. And National Assembly undermining government's efforts. That's according to Sage, who is chair of the Presidential Committee on Anti-Corruption. Now, NNPC to resume oil prospecting in Borno. Details of that story can be found on page 9. And Governor Ikpeazu Obolafo may join APC. That's according to the Sun newspaper. Details of that story can be found on page 10. Lautech students protest stalls UTME. Oshibajo and security chiefs meet on maritime surveillance. Now, there's an earpiece beside the nameplate of the Sun newspaper. We'll quickly take that now. It says, APC can't fix Nigeria's problem in 8 years. And that's according to the APC chairman, Oyego. Details of that story can be found inside at page 6. All right.
Omini, maybe you can comment on some of the stories here.
Well, let's knock two. The very first is the fact that yesterday the National Economic Management Team, chaired by the acting president, Professor Yemi Oshibajo, met to brainstorm on modalities for funding the budget, even though the budget passed by the National Assembly has not been transmitted to the executive. But from the accounts, Laole Akonde, presidential spokesperson to the vice president, said they are looking at available funding options ahead of the transmission of the budget to the executive to avoid delays if the budget eventually is assented to. But coming neck to that is this disagreement, which is in one of the stories, that budget 2017, federal government, OPEC differ on oil. You know, the budget was predicated on a benchmark of $42.5 per day. National Assembly jacked it to 44.5. But now, OPEC is saying that by their records, OPEC says Nigeria's actual oil production presently stood at 1.48 million barrels per day. FG says it is laying claim to 2.2 million barrels per day. So those are the issues. But I think from the reports, the plans by the federal government on what to do may really suffice. The other one is the Senate President and FG's Dogara fight or differ. I think from the stories, I would say they differed in opinion. The Senate President, at the launch of the book Antidote for Corruption, written by Dino Melai, likened the fight against corruption in Nigeria to medicine, which is tough. He says prevention is better than cure. That the anti-graft war should not target punishment, but prevention. But that the institutions of Nigeria, saddled with the mandate to fight corruption, are not very fortified for now. So they should be looking at prevention. Because if you want to go the whole gamut, you may not end up. So the suggestion is that why not look for a way to prevent it from further happening? That is the way the papers presented it. So that's enough for that.
All right. Let's take a look at the Authority newspaper, or you have.
Daily Times. Actually, you know, let's see. Besides the photo story of Daily Times this morning, there are some stories here. Oil exports reps summon Adoji over breach of Procurement Act. That's on page 6 of Daily Times this morning. And then below that is a court to hear Peace Corps suit against police, May 31. The full details is on page 7. Then also below that, Kachuku, federal government won't interfere in Malabu oil probe, on page 7. Following by SGF position, law bids go round for Galadima Momo. Okay, that's on page 8 of Daily Times. Now below the photo story here, anti-graft war, change your approach. Saraki Dogara tell Buhari. And then Senate to pass whistleblower protection bill in July. That will be for Daily Times this morning.
All right, Omini, you want to take those stories before we go on to the Authority newspaper?
Maybe we'll take the Authority.
All right, Authority above
look similar.
Authority above the nameplate has the following headlines: Governor Ikpeazu will speedily transform Abia. That's according to the PDP chairman. Details of the story can be found on page 4. And Nigeria's prosperity journey begins May 29th, and that's according to the Good Shepherds movement. Economic team and service chiefs meet on 2017 budget and maritime security. Now, the lead story has a kicker: Ifeanyi Ubah's detention. Justice Minister should call DSS to order. That's attributed to Ohaneze. And with two riders, refusal of court order breeds impunity. And Southeast youths assembled 100 lawyers. And the second list story on the front page says 440,000 candidates write UTME in first day. And that's according to the JAM registrar. The story jumps to page 2.
Well, a further breakdown of that particular story on JAM indicates that by yesterday, JAM registrar disclosed that there were fake JAM questions circulating in the country, and they are being sold for 200,000 naira. And there was some kind of fracas yesterday at Kwali, one of the centers. You know, the exams are taken in batches, 7 a.m., 9 a.m., and 2 p.m. up till 2:30 p.m. yesterday. The first batch had not written the exam, and that led the students to go to the streets. It took the police some frantic effort to get it under control. The other side of it is that the Nigerian Medical Association yesterday sustained its counsel to the federal government to tighten up security, given the development from the Democratic Republic of Congo. As at this morning, 2 new cases have been recorded of Ebola, and they are saying, federal government, let your response team be fortified, let the nation's borders be tightened, just as the Minister of Health, Professor Isaac Odewole, has been to the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport and reassured Nigerians that the federal government is ever committed to ensure that nothing, if Ebola was fought in the first time, it will not be allowed to come into Nigeria. So those are the steps the government has taken. Then the other story in which we have not really turned out, maybe the paper is not here, is the fact that the Senator Ishaq Adeleke's death has been attributed to administering overdose of banned drugs on him. The coroner investigation has commenced in Osun State, and we hope more revelations will come up.
All right, well, there was also the story we read a moment ago, the headline, that's on the front page of Daily Trust. Kiri, I remember that the federal government is shopping for replacements of 16 permanent secretaries. Yeah, that's quite a huge number. Yeah. 16 federal permanent secretaries are due to retire this year. That's quite a number.
Oh, yes.
Yes, a number of,
but you know, in the civil service, there's already a natural succession plan.
Yes.
As they are retiring, they are directors on the
exactly.
I'm sure they'll be killing the
I'm not there yet, please. I'm not there yet.
All right, I think that's the most that we can take. These are the papers that we have. It's a wet morning in the Federal Capital Territory. Of course, the rain subsided just before the program kicked off. I would like to thank Omini Oden for being with us this morning.
Thank you so much. I wish you a wonderful celebration.
All right, now that does it for our newspaper review segment. It's Good Morning Nigeria, live for the network service of Africa's largest TV network, Nigerian Television Authority. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we'll be dealing with high-value agri-produce, high-value exports for agri-produce.
Yes.
Too many adjectives.
Hear the call of change. Stand up, Nigeria. Change is here and it's going to stay. Change begins with you. Oh yeah, make we go. So let the change begin from within. Look at you, oh Gerula. Change begins with you and me. Oh, change begins with me. Oh, change begins with me. Oh, change begins with me.
It is with joy that I've received Our Excellency's gifts.
I want to say that may God continue to bless and reward her. And so, on behalf of Garki Hospital, we are grateful.
You are still watching Good Morning Nigeria on NTA Network Service. Now, to set the tone for our discussion this morning, let's take a listen to this background report by Timothy Yusuf.
As Nigeria evaluates the progress made under the agricultural transformation agenda, experts say it is apparent that additional work is still required in order to meet the nation's objectives. This is due to the fact that Nigeria still imports a significant quantity of food that it has the capacity to produce, and also not earning much foreign exchange from agricultural products, that it has comparative advantage, meaning the country is losing on both ends. The Agricultural Promotion Policy, APP, is the latest refreshed strategy by the present administration to take the country to the promised land. The purpose of the policy document is to provide a disciplined approach to building an agribusiness ecosystem that will solve existing gaps. It is in these directions that government is prioritizing for export markets the production of crops ranging from cowpeas, cocoa, cashew, cassava, ginger, sesame seed, oil palm, yams, gum arabic, horticulture, beef and cotton.
If all Nigerians come together to support government in this crusade for agriculture, agriculture will replace oil easily. The United States is rich today because of agriculture, not because of anything else.
Those who know explain that government will also work with a network of investors, farmers, processors and other stakeholders to deepen the supporting infrastructure to ensure that quality standards are defined and maintained across the value chain. To achieve this target, government is also said to be working closely with states and other international agencies. Many believe that if successful, key gaps such as Nigeria's continued imports of some agricultural commodities will drop significantly, as well as move Nigerian agriculture from a culture or tradition to a business and commercial ecosystem that can produce the capabilities necessary to create sustainable jobs and create wealth. While Nigeria is known to have in the past thrived on traditional cash crops such as cotton, cocoa, rubber, groundnut, and oil palm, there are others that have high export value such as gum arabic, sesame seed, shea butter, ginger, and the like, which need to be given attention as the country has comparative advantage in them. How can this be achieved? Who should do what and when? These are some of the issues guests on GMN will be proffering answers to shortly.
All right, thank you very much there, Timothy Yusuf, for that background report. Now we have three guests with us here in the meantime in the Abuja studios to discuss this very important subject matter. First, we'd like to welcome at this time Mr. William Ezeago, is Director, Product Development Department of the Nigerian Export Promotion Council. Mr. Ezeago, a pleasure to have you join us on the program.
Thank you very much, yours.
Okay, and then we also have with us here, with familiar face on Good Morning Nigeria, we haven't seen him for quite a while now. It's Mr. Olufemi Boyede. Boyede, of course, is a certified international trade practitioner. Mr. Boyede, delighted to have you join us on the program this morning.
Thank you very much.
And also with us is Dr. Florence Edwards. Dr. Florence Edwards is the president of the Ginger Growers Association, Ginger Growers and Marketers Association. Dr. Edwards, delighted to have you on Good Morning Nigeria today.
Thank you.
All right, so Kirian.
Okay, now we'd like to start with the Nigeria Export Promotion Council. Mr. Ezeago, now what is the market potential of ginger, gum arabic, sesame seed, shea butter, and the likes? Now these are key crops that could be exported from Nigeria.
Thank you. I wish to say that these products you mentioned, they have huge potentials in the international market. It's one of the essential food item used for, either from pharmaceuticals, in food, all that. So it's a product that it doesn't fall in value because every day, especially now they're talking of health issues, people want to eat organic food, healthy food and all that. So ginger becomes a very, very good product for that. So shea butter, all know, is for cosmetics. It's actually, now it's for food. It's being used also to replace cocoa butter in Europe, which is a very good plus for it. So people are looking for shea butter to process to even replace shea butter, cocoa, which is very expensive in the international market. So also a huge market. In the US, everywhere, everybody's looking for shea butter. If you talk of sesame seed, of course, again, it's a food item too. Also used for ingredients in terms of food, in terms of oil too, and all that. So a lot of potentials for that. So essentially, I would say that this is the right time, actually, to produce this product in better quantity. Maybe the issue of quality will come later, but the issue is that there's a lot of potentials across the world. Right now, Nigeria is the leading producer of ginger, number 3 in the world. We used to be number 2, but number 3 after China, India is Nigeria. The important thing about Nigerian ginger is that it has this aroma that is important aroma that's well known very well worldwide. That Indians and Chinese who have a larger production cost to buy Nigerian ginger to mix with their own to get that aroma. So meaning that Nigerian ginger has high value in the international market.
Now, how has the export of this ginger and others been in the last couple of years, from Nigeria?
I want to tell you that everybody comes to Nigeria. Even the Chinese, the Indians, they're all coming to Nigeria. Huge market. The prices, I will tell you, for example, let me give you an example of cashew nut. 2 years ago, cashew price was about, local price, was about maybe 200,000 metric ton. Last year, it was about 400. This year, it came up to 650,000 metric ton in some location. Before the value of a dollar came down, then the price came down a bit. Meaning that price is rising astronomically because of the demand for this product outside. The same thing with shea butter, the same thing with ginger. Ginger price also went high, very, very high, which hitherto was not like that. So there's more value now. There's more value in terms of export for this product. So
all right, Mr. William Ezeagu, thank you very much. Before you export, you have to produce, and production involves cultivation. And happily, we have with us here Dr. Florence Edwards. We'll introduce our president of the Ginger Growers and Marketers Association of Nigeria. Tell us first about ginger cultivation in Nigeria. Where is ginger produced, and what is the cultivation like? Is it a difficult crop, to cultivate and harvest and store?
Thank you. Ginger, let me add to what he has said. Nigeria has the spiciest ginger in the whole world. And that is why Nigeria ginger is being sought for by everyone. We have 5 states, mainly now, that are producing ginger. And that is, number 1 is Kaduna, Nasarawa, Niger, Gombe, and I remember the one other. The FCT is coming up. Yeah, FCT is coming up, but it's only in Buhari as is that they are producing ginger. Now, ginger is very easy to produce. Like the science have it now that you can even farm ginger even in this cup here, and it will grow. You understand it? It takes 6 months from cultivation to harvest period for ginger to be harvested. And ginger is doing well in every area. But Kaduna, southern Kaduna, is the majority part of production of ginger. Southern Kaduna. Every family farms ginger. Everyone farms ginger. And that is where, if you go to China, you say, Nigeria ginger. I say, Kachia? Did I say Kafancha? I've been to Kafancha. And it gladdens one's heart to hear a Chinese man in his country telling you of Kachia, telling you of Kafancha. You understand it? So Kaduna has the majority production of ginger today.
All right, that's fair enough. Kaduna is leading, but I'm sure you were also familiar with the story that broke sometime last year about the earth tremors that affected parts of Kaduna. And so those parts were said to be the areas most heavily cultivated in terms of ginger production. What is the situation now? Are the farmers back to the fields, or they still are out of their homes.
The farmers, they are always back to the field because that is their life. That is their heritage from their parents. They don't have any other thing to farm but ginger. Most of them don't have any other thing to farm but ginger and turmeric. So they are back. And ginger is doing well in Kaduna today.
What are it's still on the cultivation of ginger. Of course, there are other cash crops we'll also move on to. But since, I mean, you're a ginger expert, let's deal with this. I mean, every crop has its own pests, you know, and disease. What is the major challenge that ginger farmers face in the country today? Because, I mean, part of our introductory banter included the fact that we could indeed cultivate a much larger area of land, or acreage or hectareage of land. What are the major challenges that ginger farmers face in the meantime?
The first major challenge ginger farmers faced, which everybody knows, is number one, finance. Number two, you will not believe that ginger as it is today does not have a major processing plant in place. Most of the ginger you see that is sent abroad is sun-dry. We sun-dry ginger to send abroad. And by the time you sun-dry in the open air, sun, dust, and so by the time they bring it, they will now start, they call it cleaning. They now clean. Still, it doesn't meet international standard. And that is one major challenge we're facing.
There's no value addition.
No value addition.
Now, that even takes us to, you know, during the Obasanjo administration, we had such issues with the exporting of cassava. When the cassava was turned down, you know, back, you know, were returned to Nigeria because of not properly processed, you know, before export. Now, let's go to Mr. Boyede. You are a certified international trade practitioner, so you are
professional.
A professional. You are well aware of how sesame seed, gum arabic, ginger, and others are doing in the international market. But let's share your view of the quality of what we have and how acceptable they are in the international market.
Well, I'm unhappy to say that just before I came into the studio, I was discussing with the Director of Agriculture outside and my brother William. The agricultural products that we produce in Nigeria, by current practices, do not meet international standards. By current practices. However, the international market has remained a very huge. It saddens me to always hear Nigerians talk about potential. But it's a very huge market. If we continue to look at it as potential, it means that it's in development. That's right. It is real, and other countries are taking advantage. I gave him the example of Walmart. I had a meeting with the Global Procurement Director of Walmart Group in America in July last year. Walmart imported 57 billion US dollars worth of agricultural commodities from around the world. Of course, cashew and ginger came very, very high among them. When I got the call from the GM of NTA to come on this program, we were talking about non-traditional, value-added agricultural commodities. I thought something like tiger nuts will also feature. I thought something like hibiscus flower, zobo, will also feature. Because these are Nigerian agricultural commodities that are not in the limelight, that are actually having a very huge market out there. You talk about cashew. Talk about, it's cashew that Vietnam and India come to take from Nigeria and then brand it their own. Yeah. So some of the other countries that are rating themselves as #1 producer are actually adding the quantities that come from Nigeria. That's how serious it is. So when you talk about the quality, we are not producing export standard qualities yet. And that's what takes me to the discussion, not argument, that I had with him. Nigerians, especially those who are skeptical about export having a negative impact on food security, they are missing the point. missing the point in the sense that there is no way that an export-driven agricultural production is going to affect local production, because export-driven agricultural production comes from a set standard. It's a contract. I'm going to buy 100,000 metric tons of cashew from Nigeria if the nuts are of this size, if the defects are as minimal as this, if the humidity is as minimal as this. So what then happens? Either the federal or the state government goes back to go and allocate a plantation that is specifically to produce for that market. That's what every other country is doing. I told William out there is a farm in Ghana that produces only pineapple for export. He's a young man. He's not yet 40. He's a 40-hectare piece of land. He grows pineapple, and it is shipped out of Accra every night. It is specifically for export production. Nigeria has been on subsistent agricultural production for a long time. So we are going to continue to talk about potential if we do not raise the standard of what we are producing to actually penetrate the waiting. It's already there. It's waiting.
So, just hold a minute. Are you saying, therefore, that the claim about, how we have penetrated the global market, we are number 3, these are exaggerations?
They are not exaggerations. William hasn't told you that we are the third largest exporter of ginger. He says we are the third largest producer. Yeah. Nobody has said that. I was with the executive director of NEPC in Kaduna last week at an EU Kaduna State Investment Forum. He lamented the fact that the products in which we are the world's #1 producer were actually not in any number as far as having the share of the world market is. So we are producing, and we will continue to claim that we are the biggest producer of
and
cassava, but we are not exporting.
I was coming there, because when you talked about quality, I got interested, because I have come across the quarantine service of this country, which is also under the Federal Ministry of Agriculture. Now, we hardly hear about quarantine service, because if these products are properly quarantined, now you're talking about quality, because the quarantine service provides a certificate. They certify some products, and they also give you the process, of producing them. I have followed their production of, for instance, vegetables, for instance. Now, from cultivation, quarantine service begins from cultivation of such vegetables. They will follow you up till the last packaging and export at the airport, where they have offices, in such places. So now, what should be the right practice? What can be done? Because you can be the third world largest producer of a commodity, and you're exporting less. So where does quarantine come in here?
Well, it's not only quarantine. It's a very, very good issue that you have raised. It's not only the quarantine service. It's what should be the practice of Nigeria's trade support institutions? What should be the interrelationship with them, between them, that brings Nigeria actually to the global market? And here, I'm going to say Nigerian agencies have existed. I'm not here to pull down any one of them. But every agency that is related to trade in Nigeria has a revenue generation objective. The plant quarantine services, as related to export, are happy issuing the quarantine certificate. It is not every exported agricultural commodity that is actually inspected. The guys who grade cocoa in Idori, they don't necessarily scoop all the cocoa. They come in and look at a batch of 200 metric tons. They probably graded 1 or 2 tons. It is the per ton grading fees that interest everybody. When we have an export culture, when everything is export oriented, then we are going to have the kind of collaboration that I have been clamoring on Export Digest, an interagency collaboration that makes it imperative that export-oriented production is actually checked at every level. The inspection agencies that the federal government has appointed, I'm sorry to say also that I cannot hold brief that every exported item from Nigeria is actually inspected. It is a matter of how much of the nest fees that they get. So it's looking at the paper and saying, hey, I'm going to export 200 tons. How much is it from nest that goes to them? And they issue you the certificate.
Okay,
now, the practice has to be,
we shall return to
is
you.
it really, really inspected?
We shall return to you very shortly. And of course, Mr. Zag is also interested in coming in here. But before we do that, let's introduce our next guest, who is in our Kaduna studio. And that's Mrs. Rufina Nyelong, is the MD and CEO of Thronit Nigeria Limited. Good morning, madam, and welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
All right, you have listened to the panelists here this morning. Have listened to each and every one of them on their contributions so far. And in your own opinion, what has happened? You know, what is your take on all the contributions made so far?
Well, you see, Nigeria always claims to be the #1 producer, and it's all talk. I come from the shea butter or shea nut sector. I can also tell you that Nigeria accounts for 51% of the total share globally, but yet we're not exporting. These women are not even informed, you know, of the potential, like the other speaker said. It's always potential, but the reality really is the people export shea nuts from Nigeria. We don't have any processing plants here in Nigeria. We either have to go to Ghana or we go to Lome, you know, for processing of shea butter in the required commercial quantity for global use. So it's the same thing, it's the same potential that we're still talking about in Nigeria, rather than, you know, saying that we have, or this is what we're churning out, or we're churning out maybe 600 tons, you know. So it's the same potential that we're talking about even in the shea sector.
Well, Mrs. Nyelong, what the issue you just raised now obviously relates to the value chain system with regard to agricultural produce. And in the last few years, that's when we started hearing more about value chain. What is the real challenge with value addition to shea butter production? Why has it been such a big challenge setting up plants to process the raw shea that is produced by farmers?
You see, the shea tree or the shea nut is not planted. Even though Ghana have gone a step further by having improved seedlings, you know, the shea tree starts producing its seeds after maybe 20 years. And in Nigeria, the women are not informed. They're also still at the subsistence level. What they do is that it's not a domestic crop. When they go in the wild to pick up these nuts and they come aggregate it, and then maybe in a particular village, for example, they have barely a ton or 2 or 3 tons maximum, and they process this nuts into butter. You only have 1 ton of butter per 3 tons of shea nuts. And then you realize that by the time the shea season is over, they have only aggregated so much to last you perhaps through the cycle of the year. So that's the problem we're facing now. I am into value addition. I'm into cosmetic production. But as I speak with you now, it's very, very difficult to even get shea butter in Nigeria, because the shea seeds are not available anymore, because these women just pack enough for domestic use and probably just to make peanuts out of it, not knowing that the potentials that lies ahead of them, that they can aggregate so much, use probably government warehouses in these various locations. For example, in Kaduna State, there are about 18 to 20 local governments that have shea trees in commercial quantity. And if these women are brought together formally to aggregate these nuts, at the end of the day, they can churn out maybe 100,000 tons per annum. That will be enough for domestic and even for export.
All right, Mrs. Nyelong, thank you very much. We'll come back to you later on in the course of the conversation. Now to return to Mr. William Ezeagu with us here in his studios. What we are discussing, obviously, and Boyede has already pointed to that, we are still largely subsistent in our orientation, and yet we want to be world players. How do we make the transition?
Thank you very much. I want to say the issue you raised is very, very important to us at Nigerian Export Promotion Council. And that's why under the leadership of Olusegun Awolowo, we have developed what we call the Zero Oil Plan. What is Zero Oil Plan? The Zero Oil Plan is saying, what if Nigeria has no oil? Can't we survive? We survived in the 60s, we survived in the early 70s where there was no oil. And what drove the economy then was agriculture. The cocoa, of course, everybody knows the cocoa house in Ibadan. Everybody knows that University of Ife was established through the cocoa thing. University of Nigeria and Soka was established through palm oil. The same thing with ABU, through cotton and all that. Meaning that Nigeria has the potentials to still move forward without oil. And that actually made us to go to the Zero Oil Plan. What is the Zero Oil Plan? The Zero Oil Plan is just simply saying, we selected some product that traded 20 billion globally. If any product traded globally for 20 billion and above, we selected them. And we discovered that Nigeria has more than 15 products that could trade more than, at that kind of level. We're talking of cocoa. Cocoa trades more than that. We're talking of, sesame seed, palm oil, rubber, leather, petrochemicals, and all that. And we say, okay, if we can type 5% of this global value for Nigeria, we could, at the end, by the time we calculated it, we are getting money more than what we could get from crude oil. Meaning that, and essentially what we are trying to say is that scale up production, meaning that we cannot, live on subsistence farming. It will not take us anywhere. Just like he said, the export market needs volume. We're talking of cassava. Cassava, I was part of the presidential initiative, member of the presidential initiative that went to China to negotiate for cassava. They're looking for volumes. You can't do a volume with one container, 2 containers. No, you can't even do a cassava plantation with 10 hectares of land, 20 hectares. It doesn't make sense. Minimum you can do is 100 hectares.
All right. Now, how do you catalyze this? You're talking about volume. That still reduces you or reduces the country to just a primary producer. We're talking all about the knock-on effect of value addition. That's Dr. Florence Edwards here was telling us about, look, this is the challenge that you face with ginger. You see them, even in the FCT here, they spread them, on pavements and, walkways and so on and so forth. How do we make that transition? First, boost your production, and next, be sure that there's some little value addition. What is the how? That's my question.
Thank you very much.
Sorry to add to what he said.
Yes.
The question asked you now. The question really is, what is the enabling environment required by these farmers to process what they produce? Because the volume is not the case here now. We are talking about Mr. Abode talking about quality of what we have. Are they accepted? Are they of international standards? And Mrs. Nyalon in Kaduna talked about lack of even the plant to process, shea nuts, for instance. So now, if those things are not there, your produce are not going to be accepted internationally.
Thank you very much. Let me take the issue of quality right now. The government is addressing the issue of quality. As I'm talking to you now, there's a standing committee known as the Zero Reject Committee. What is the Reject Committee? Based on the issue we had with beans, the 1-year ban from the EU, saying that we have to clean our beans because of the high level of chemicals, pesticides in the product. So based on the government has, under the Ministry, or actually Export Promotion Council, started the process. But now it's under the Vice President's office, we are forming what we call the Zero Reject Committee, made up of all the relevant agencies. The Ministry of Agri, which is where the Secretary is domiciled, the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, the Nigerian Agricultural Quarantine Service, Nigerian Export Promotion Council, the Federal Produce Inspection, all that have to do with quality, they're in that committee. In fact, tomorrow, we are meeting with UNIDO technical experts, which came from Europe, to see, we have developed what we call the conduit of excellence. What is the conduit of excellence? Conduit says the best practices from end-to-end quality infrastructure, whereby the product is from the farm gate to the export to the market, meaning that the quality will be okay. And that is what we are doing currently. So in that committee, there's a lot of improvements that are done. And it's been, trying to duplicate to other parts of other part of the country. That is the issue of quality. The second issue you discovered, the issue of value addition. key again to our zero oil plan. It's very key because, like someone said, our guest from Kaduna said, the issue of shea butter. We also discovered the value of shea butter, and that is why we did a project with WTO, known as the WTO SCDF Project 172. What does it mean? It was to bring capacity for shea butter or shea nut or that shea nut value chain. On that process, and that's what information is also key. So, so if you don't have information, maybe you will not know what we are doing. We have many plants now processing shea butter. I mean, shea nut into shea butter. We have one in Ikorodu in Lagos. We have one in Akure. These are now high we have one also in Ikene, they are also processed. These are high value. They are producing now for the food grade. Remember I told you that shea butter is now being used to replace shea cocoa butter in the European, in the food industry, chocolate and all that. Meaning that they need volume. And so this company company I told you, they are doing that. Even in Niger State, there are a lot of companies now doing shea butter, for the international market. Let me not talk about the SMEs, which is where our core mandate is. We have, based on that, to train the SME, we have developed a facility in a place called Shaki in Oyo State, where we teach farmers, the processors who have been using local means of production. We teach them. We build a factory, a kind of a model for them to use. We did that. We did it in Niger. We did it somewhere, in Kebbi State as well. So it's a process, and a lot of things, information is available, but just because sometimes we don't, it's not in the public domain. But
why is the information not in the public domain? This is because Mrs. Yam Long, speaking to us from our Kaduna Network studios, was talking about the point. These are the challenges that they face. If information is widely available, I'm sure those who are watching this program would take advantage of it. Do you have a challenge with public information management with regard to some of the things you just talked about?
I would say that we have challenge, but information, a lot of information can be a lot in a lot of ways. And again, in publication, publicity, sometimes you need resources to get it across, talking to volumes, a large audience, maybe through the television, through the radio and all that, It's a coordinated effort, and it has to be coordinated, But good thing, like I said, is that a lot of things happening. Under the Federal Ministry of Agric, they are doing a lot of things, also Ministry of Agric. Currently, the Federal Ministry of Agric, when we are talking of value addition, we're also talking of the yam processing. Right now, there's a presidential initiative on yam, which means that in fact, as I'm talking to you now, through Nigerian Export Promotion Facility in Benue State, we are exporting yam to the U.S. Somebody just left that facility in Zakebian. And it's in Lagos now trying to promote the yam to the U.S.
And now, before we let you go, actually, what is the role of the private sector in all of this?
Wonderful, wonderful. Private sector is a key driver of the economy in terms of business. The role of government is actually to facilitate the process. And that is why nothing we do in the Nigerian Export Promotion Council without the private sector. The Manufacturing Association of Nigeria, FACAN. FACAM is which Madam is one of them, all the agricultural sector, they are very important. Nothing we do without the intervention or the key holder. We call them the stakeholder. I also want to use of which to say that because of the challenges also they are facing, the private sector, that's why the president has graciously approved the introduction of the EEG. If you remember, EEG has been in operation for some time, and that the scheme was meant to really subsidize to try to defray the cost of production, which is high in Nigeria. So I want to say, luckily, because we talk about private sector, it has been the government has reintroduced the EEG meant to fashion the loss of the.
But Femi Boyede, I know that on this program you have always complained about the EEG. What is the current status? That's the first leg of my question. What is the current status with regard to the EEG? Is it producing any salutary effect?
Like I have always said, EEG is supposed to be some kind of a hedge. Hedge in the sense of just helping to defray a little of the cost. Madam, how many toll gates would you meet from Kachia to
Lagos?
Apapa Port? What is the cost of a ton of ginger in Kachia as compared to the cost of transporting it from Kachia to Tinkan Island Port?
And all the stops on the road.
Sometimes you buy the ginger at very favorable price, it will take you about 700,000 naira to take a full trailer, a 24-tire trailer, which will be a 40-foot container, to take it to the port in Lagos. That is double the price of the product that it is transporting. EEG only, I just mentioned one.
That's right.
Cost of funding. Some of the companies that are coming to buy ginger, competing with you to buy ginger in Kachia, some of those companies are from China, they are from India. They get their funds at maximum 5% interest rate. You go to your bank, it takes you 8 months to process an export loan at which that will be given to you at 24%.
In fact, I was going there now.
So when you talk about all of those things, that's what the EEG is supposed to hedge. EEG has been reintroduced, thank God. Exporters are very, very seriously and faithfully and trustfully hoping that the implementation will now be allowed to flow smoothly and seamlessly. I don't want to start talking about EEG. You know, Kingsley,
that's right.
We will talk till tomorrow. I have some other key issues that I would like, if you permit, to talk about. To address the questions that you put to my friend.
That's right. Namely, how we make the transition essentially from subsistence to international players.
We have spent all the years of export promotion in Nigeria promoting to the detriment of development. Export promotion and export development must go hand in hand. If not, we are not ever going to be global players. If not, we are going to sit down and be producing the best strategies. I was a member of the the team that supported one of the past ministers of industry, trade and investment in this country. And we spent good time developing fantastic strategy that the exporters never got to hear about. They didn't even hear about it. How much will it take for them to understand? So now coming to Kingsley's question, we have to ensure that export development, which is actually what takes care of all of those issues.
That you talked about.
It is the export development that will look at the criticality of financing, that will look at the criticality of farm gate processing, moving from raw to intermediate export product, that will look at creating a market before you start promotion. The failure of the federal government cassava initiative was that everybody went into the farm to go and produce cassava. Nobody told them the species of cassava that was needed. Nobody told them that cassava is a crop that is 85% water. And therefore, when you are exporting cassava, you are supposed to have factored in the fact that you are losing 85% of your yield.
Over time.
Nobody told them that. That is export development. Nobody said that when you export, when you go to Idore, for example, you are buying cocoa at farm gate price times terminal, the terminal market price times the day's black market exchange rate. And that when they bring the money back, they are going to lose fantastically because they have bought a ton of cocoa at 1 million naira, which was calculated at 2,000 pounds per ton in London yesterday. Because the farmer knows how much it is sold in London.
Mr. Ezeagu,
those are the development issues that I want us to look at.
Bode, thanks a lot always, for your perspective. Well, happily, Mr. Ezeagu is still here. The key issue now, this is a conceptual issue. Export promotion versus export development, and all the issues that appertain to export development, as Boyede has outlined in his initial remarks. Of course, he will come back to those points. When again, I ask this transition question: when are we going to take the step from promotion into redevelopment, factoring in all of these critical issues?
Thank you, Kingsley. I want to assure that, like I said, what we are talking today is already on the ground. Now, I've told you about the zero oil plan. Maybe I will get a copy for you to look at it.
Just explain to our viewers again. That's important.
Like I said, the zero oil plan conceptualize that there's no oil. And let us start from the basic. And based on that, we now said, like I said, we study the global value chains. And we discovered that any product that earns 20 billion above, we take it. And when we got about almost 15 products. We call them category A products. We also have category B products. Category B products are products that will have natural competitive advantage. They might not trade 20 billion internationally, but we have natural advantage on them. Cashew nut, we have natural advantage. Sesame seed, we have natural advantage. These are kind of honey and all that. But I want to say that, more importantly again, that is one of the things we did. Secondly, we also developed what we call one state, one product. It's a strategy, meaning that each state, we identify one product. There might be many products in that state, but what is okay, let us pay attention on one product. For example, Kaduna. Kaduna, we are talking on ginger. Now, the ginger value chain is wide. Apart from what we are seeing here, we have, of course, we can also process ginger. And again, she talked about the value addition, which is also key to the zero oil plan. We are saying we are going to add value under the one state, one product, meaning that each state, we are going to pay attention.
I'm not being cynical, Kiri. I'm not being cynical. Look, just a minute. That's what Boyode is saying. We spend a great deal of time developing plans and plans. Mrs. Florence Edwards is here. Are you aware of all these plans about ginger and the value addition? You are still talking about some drying this in on tarred roads and so on and so forth. And it's still happening up to tomorrow.
No, excuse me, sir. I want to say that this issue is not issue of, remember like he said, export promotion is just an organization. They are stakeholders.
Communication is key.
They are stakeholders.
Because communication is key to all of this. I think what you are saying,
yes,
the strategy may be in place. No doubt about that. From your explanation so far, we tend to agree with the fact that you have it on ground. But is it being communicated to key stakeholders, like a ginger farmer, like a shea nut farmer there in Kaduna, talking to us? That is the issue, because if they don't have the information, they cannot actually, benefit from whatever strategy that we have put in place. I think, that is the real issue here.
Kirian, please, I want to. Can I just allow me to just tip something? Madam, who is a ginger president, can say does not know about what we are saying. But I want to say that more importantly is that, apart from the association and FACAN, which is the umbrella body of all the association, we're also talking with, we have each state, we have what's called State Committee on Export Promotion. And that is one of the strategies that we are also using to cascade the one state, one product. Meaning that each state, in the secretariat of this state, we have what we call the State Committee. The State Committee is made up of the Ministry of Commerce, Ministry of Agri, Chambers of Commerce, all the relevant stakeholders.
And it has export promotion.
Export promotion.
When will they transit to export development?
That's what we are doing, sir. Okay. That's what we are doing. Right. I just tell you about, in fact, we have discussed this with about all the states now.
All right.
They are in place now. And we have developed strategies.
Because of this discussion, Mr. Femi Boyode will come in much later, because there are things I'd like him to explain with respect to the issue of what the strategies that you have that people are not benefiting from, people are not knowing about. So at this point, actually, we are going to the tweets for the day. Let's see what how our viewers are reacting to this conversation. Kinsley, you have the first one.
Yeah, that's right. We have this from Innocent Yawa James. That's his tweet. It says, agri-produce exported harnessed to the last byproduct and enhanced its value chain. And then Nigerians import it again. Let's industrialize. He's talking about the fact that we export our raw materials, others add value to it, and then, of course, we spend our forex importing it. Rather, let's industrialize.
Now, from Mahmoud Haman, no nation can be self-sufficient in food and raw materials unless it wins its people off foreign products, no matter the resistance.
And this is from Anthony Ogidi. It says, Nigeria has all it takes to recover and grow its economy with agri-export, given its endowed potentials, if only it's sincere about diversification.
All right. From Innocent Yawal James, Nigeria is endowed with potential and actual resources with which we are not supposed to be a mono economy. Yes, so agri leads and we should follow.
Ifesinachi Okechukwu tweets, ginger has enormous potentials. We need to up the ante, just like the expert has said, if we are to compete in the global market.
Okay, this other tweet came from Eguando Tone Jeff. Actually, he's requesting to have the contacts of Dr. Florence Edwards and Mr. Olufemi Boyode. He wants your contact.
Okay, this is from Festus Akimboyewa. Festus Akimboyewa tweets, Nigeria can be the bedrock, I take that again. Agri can be the bedrock of Nigeria's economy. We must ensure safety of our agri produce so that we can have access to international markets.
And from Anthony Ogidi, Nigeria has all it takes to recover and grow its economy with agro-export, giving its endowed potential, if only it's sincere about diversification.
Now, Shitu tweets, now what crude oil focus has done to us will take us years of sustained approach to overcome, despite the fact that we can make more money from agriculture.
Then Dayo Isaac Ojediro says a major problem is that of rejection due to non-meeting of international standard. NAFDAC and SON should make it easy to get their services in this respect.
Well, again, Egwando Jeff says, I'm so addicted to NTA Good Morning Nigeria. If you don't join the growing viewers, you are missing wonderful information. Thanks a lot for your compliment.
All right, and Festus Akimboyewa, government at all levels should address incessant rejection of our agri-produce due to pesticide considered to be dangerous to human health.
All right, those are some of the tweets that we are taking in the meantime. Obviously, as we said, I mean, there's no point as the Dr. Florence Edwards and then Mrs. Yenlong has also indicated, and indeed the other guests, there's no point in beating our chest about being number one this, number two that. Let's face it, really, let's see what we can grow. And when the benefits will start coming, well, then we'll see it in the quality of life of our people, in the standard of living of our people, in the GDP of the country as well. And so, although, of course, as we have seen in the course of the recession, agri provided one of the buffers, you know, against the sleep. So that's one of the issues. But in the meantime, we'd like to thank Mr. William Ezeago, Director, Product Development Department of the Nigerian Export Promotion Council. Thanks a lot, you know, for your insights. And I do hope that going forward, the Promotion Council will also begin to focus, in addition to promotion, focus on export development.
And also communicate to the stakeholders.
That's right. Mr. Ezeago, once again, thank you very much for being with us on the program today.
Thank you, sir.
All right, so it's Good Morning Nigeria. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we'll continue with the conversation. We still have our guests at the Kaduna Network Center, and they will be joined by other guests here in addition to Dr. Florence Edwards and Femi Boyede.
Admission forms for the 2017-2018 academic session of NTA Television College JAWS into its diploma programs are now on sale. The diploma programs are in film and TV production, broadcast journalism, and TV engineering technology. Applicants are required to have at least 5 credits, including English language and mathematics at SSC, NECO, or GCO levels in not more than 1 sitting. Application forms can be obtained from the TV College Refi JAWS or at any NTA zonal centers nationwide on payment of a no-refundable fee of 7,500 naira in bank draft in favor of NTA Television College. Completed application forms should be returned to the Office of the Academic Secretary, NTA Television College, or the Center of Purchase on or before 28th of July 2017. For further inquiries, please call 0806 980 9807 or 0703 660 7155. NTA Television College, training you to be the best you can be.
TV Guide magazine is out with fabulous Fab Funke Akindele Bello, aka Jennifer, adorning the cover. She opens a secret not known even to her family. Find out the secret. NTA turns 40 this year. The challenges, the emerging trends in broadcasting, and the way forward. Weekend Dealer 2. Meet the team behind the biggest deal on NTA. Is food still the way to a man's heart? If not, what else? This edition is hot and juicy. Meet your star faces on screen. Entertainment, fashion, young minds, social media, and great personality.
This is idiosyncratic and heterodox.
Yes, Professor John Bull is on the radar. Find out what makes this program the rave of the moment on NTA Network. And for the Prof,
over and out.
TV Guide. Ask your vendors or book your copy at every NTA station nationwide. TV Guide, still your indispensable companion.
We thank you for staying with us up to this moment on today's edition of Good Morning Nigeria, reaching you from the network service of the NTA. And just joining us in the studio now is Quadri Oleleko Adekunle. He's actually the Director, Tree Crops of Federal Ministry of Agriculture. Mr. Adekunle, you're welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
Good morning, viewers.
Now, you have actually watched, commentaries, from our panelists this morning, and you'll be in a true position to actually posit, your thoughts, so that our viewers will also know where you are coming from. So, what's your reaction to all the contributions made so far with respect to either strategies from export promotion to export development and what have you?
Well, one of the issues that interested me most is the fact raised by Mr. Kingsley. He said, how do we transit from subsistence farming to commercial farming? In other words, how do we leapfrog from subsistence farming to commercial farming? In other words, as a nation, you discover that we have been operating at subsistence level for decades. And for other countries that have made progress, significant progress in agricultural commodity value chain, they have hectares of plantation crops. For example, go to Malaysia, go to Indonesia. You fly from here to Port Harcourt, you will see oil palm all over the place.
That's right.
You go to Indonesia, you see rubber plantation from here to Maiduguri. But if you fly from here to Lokoja, it is bush you will see on the right and on the left. That is not how to make progress as a nation. So, and that is the more reason why in Federal Ministry of Agriculture, we have decided that, look, plantation agriculture is actually the way. We need to transit from subsistence farming to commercial farming. And how do we intend to achieve that? Just last week, we sent a letter to the state governor of Kogi State that we have identified a parcel of land in its domain, and it's about 10,000 hectares of cashew. It's going to be dedicated to export market. I was having a conversation with Mr. Boyede before the commencement of this program, and I told him, I said, look, in 2012, I was the head of agribusiness and investment in the ministry, and I had a conversation with Walmart Group in Lagos. They came to survey Nigeria, and after the survey, they were looking for business opportunities. They said, oh, no, we are not likely to invest in Nigeria, but we need your cashew because we recognize that cashew is not your staple crop. And they said, look, we would like to import cashew from Nigeria. So what are we trying to do now is to ensure that we move to plantation agriculture, because that is the way to go. 1 acre, half acre here and there, for example, it compromises quality. It compromises, it makes the mechanization difficult. It makes processing difficult. How do you establish a processing plant where you have 1 acre, half acre there? It is not going to work.
Mr. Oleleko, please, yes. to interject here. Yes. We've had plantations even before the Civil War. Yes. We had plantations, palm plantation, rubber plantation in Bini area, and what have you. What happened to them? Because you are now, preferring a solution, which of course you think if we begin now to establish more plantations, that they can be sustained. What is the guarantee that if you go into plantation this time around, that they will be sustained?
Well, the difference is that during those years, most of those plantations were owned by regional government. But now we are trying to put farmers at the driver's seat, the private sector, to be the one that will lead. For example, in this Kogi State cashew plantation we are talking about, after acquiring the land, it is the community that will donate the land. And that is, I need to let Nigerians know that as we embark on this program, communities must be willing to offer their land. And as they offer the land, government will only assist them to develop this land and redistribute the same land back to these farmers, so that they begin to transit from subsistence farming to large-scale farming. And then in the process of doing that, we're able to do mechanization. You were able to put a processing plant in the same place, and it has raw material. The situation we have in the country is such that if you bring a plant to a particular place now and say, okay, process this particular produce for me, you'll find out that in 1 month or 2 months, the raw material is gone, because machine doesn't go on break. It doesn't go on Easter. It doesn't go on Easter holiday. It doesn't go on Christmas holiday. The machine keeps working and working and working.
In other words, we have to feed we have to boost the supply end of the raw materials.
Exactly.
For all of this. But let me ask, I see something that looks like a sponge, a roll of a sponge.
Yes.
In front of you. I don't know, what is that? What is that for? Maybe we'll speak to this for the benefit of our viewers. If you could lift it and then explain. Yes.
Kinsley, it may interest you that one of the reasons why Nigerian produce is rejected at the international market is because they are currently being packaged in propylene bags, and it compromises the quality of the produce.
What is a propylene bag?
Propylene bag is all these bags that you use.
Jute bags.
Jute bags. No, not jute bags. All these nylon, made bags.
So-called plastic bags.
Yeah, plastic bags and so on. So it compromises the quality.
What is the standard bag? We have the one made of polyethylene. Is it?
All those ones are not from natural products. They are synthetic products. I was in Cordova last week or 2 weeks ago for the meeting on organized by International Cocoa Organization. They told us in that meeting that, look, henceforth, every produce that is coming to European market that is not properly packaged in kind of jute bags, they are going to be rejected. Meanwhile, this thing grows locally here in Nigeria, all over the place.
What is this one called?
This one is called kenaf.
Kenaf. It looks like a sponge.
Kenaf fiber.
That's what I was saying.
And it is also used for POP. It can also be used for POP instead of importing all this material that we are using for POP.
How do we identify the trees? You say they grow in all parts of Nigeria.
Yeah, well, even some people, they eat the leaves because the leaves contains about 35% crude protein. So if you go to most parts in the maybe southeast, southwest, northeast, you see families, they plant it around their homes.
What is the name called? Do we have local names for them so that those who have them will know that they have a cash crop?
Well, I don't know the local name, but I know that it is called kenaf, and it grows like okra. It grows like okra, and it is very, very important. And you find out that, for example, I met with the managing director of
a firm.
Not of a firm, recently. And he told me that they were producing these jute bags for the entire West African country from Nigeria before. There was a plant established in Badagry. There was another plant established in Jos, in Plateau State.
What happened?
Both of them has gone moribund now.
Now that you brought this to this program, what's your intention? Is there any plan to process this?
Yes, our intention is actually to sensitize farmers across the Federation to begin to produce this kind of plant all over the place, so that we can begin to produce jute bags for packaging of cashew, for packaging of groundnut, packaging cocoa, and all the rest of them. And you find out that currently we are importing all these things from Bangladesh and from India. All right. And we are giving jobs to other countries.
All right, Kadri, thanks a lot for your insight. One point, and we'll come back to that. Sorry, Mrs. Edwards, you kept your gunpowder dry, or your ginger powder dry, by the way. What response are you getting from state governments in all of this?
Well, the state government, we are still having some issues, especially as it comes to, agriculture remains on the concurrent list presently, and what federal government is doing is just to support state government. For example, Plateau State government, in realization of the importance of this crop, have decided to give us 22,000 hectares of land to produce this thing. And we are also saying that, look, there should be synergy. You remember what happens between Lagos and Kebbi, for example. Rice. In fact, that happened when in my office as the regional director Southwest, I was the one that linked the two states together. And today it has become a success story. We want to replicate the same thing in the area of Kenya. Those are those producing cash crops also, state producing cash crops. They must be able to invest in Kenya. Because if they don't, there's no way they can take that produce outside Nigeria.
All right, sir. Thank you. Mrs. Rufina Nyelong in Kaduna Network Center, we've not forgotten you. I think you've been opportune to listen to other panelists here in Abuja. You earlier talked about the challenge you're being faced by share nut producers with respect to machines for processing. That's number one. And again, other issues relate to the plan for export for such a produce. Now, What is your take in what Mr. Williams Ezeagu said shortly before he left with respect to the fact that they have put strategies in place? Are you aware of such strategies? And if yes, have you been able to take opportunity of those strategies that you've known about to propel your business?
You see, the major challenge, I would say, between the private sector and the government-driven parastatals or agencies is that there is no proper information dissemination. Most of these informations, they keep them to themselves. You see, I am surprised that they keep saying they met with Walmart, but in going to Walmart, they're supposed to take stakeholders with them, for example. And then when it comes to value addition, you know, what is obtainable in the developed economy, for example, I believe that's where Walmart is in the United States of America. How many of the stakeholders have you, you know, taken along? Even if you don't take them to America, you come back and you give them feedback and, okay, this is the expectations, this is what is expected, and build capacity in that particular sector and say, okay, cash in on this because these people, Richard Branson said that if anybody asks you, can you do so and so? Your answer should be yes, and then you go back and find out how to develop or make that thing happen. But it doesn't happen. They just say, oh, okay, we don't have capacity, and so therefore, at the ministerial level or parastatal level, and they just let it go. But if you build capacity of the stakeholders of that particular sector, I believe we will go a long way in overcoming some of these challenges that we keep referring to, that, oh, okay, it's subsistent, and then we cannot do it. I don't believe that that is the case. And most of this information, it resides in the ministries. The stakeholders are not aware. You will find out that maybe the EU community issue with shea butter, because shea butter now is cocoa equivalent in the European countries. But you can arguably, Kaduna State has the largest shea trees. But the capacity of these women have not been built. I have been to National Export Promotion Council several times. I've written them a letter that they should come and also assist me as a private sector in building capacity and training these women of the various whatever that lies ahead for opportunities that lies ahead for these women. But I haven't heard from them. You see, so when they get this information, they process it at that particular time, and it's gone with the wind in the next week or two, until something else happens or they receive another visitor from another country, and then that's the case. It's a merry-go-round for them.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Nyelon. And back here to Dr. Florence. You wanted to comment on the issue of states and some of your experiences.
Yes. I want to tell us something that Edo State governor is doing. Like you said about the state governors doing something. Edo State governor, by February, called investors, which I was one of them. All of us went by February and said, come and invest in agriculture in Edo State. We said, okay, we're here. Today, February, I have 1,000 hectares of land. He went to all the local governments, all the onogis, and told them, come and give me your land. I was given 1,000 hectares. I want to farm organic ginger because the world is going organic. I'm going into organic now. So 1,000 hectares was given to me alone to farm organic ginger. And then 10,000 for processing plant, which no governor has done that. A lot of other people, other investors came from both outside Nigeria and within. And they are all going through now. So government of Edo State, though still very young, but they are doing so much. And then gather the youths to come and farm.
You said something also in connection with the export. You said that people who are given the opportunity to export the products from Nigeria are foreigners.
Yes. As concerning exportation, which it's our birthright as a Nigerian. This is our crop. This is our descent. I said to one Indian man, I said, can I come to your country and pick your products and take them out like that? Can I do that? It's very painful, truly speaking. 90%, 70% of exporters in Nigeria today are foreigners.
Why do you blame them? Why don't take over the export business?
How can I take over, my brother? Who gives you money? Where do you get the money from?
To finance your export. All right.
Finance your export.
All right, Dr. Edwards, that's fine. Again, incidentally, we have Femi Boyede here, who is an international trade expert. This has always been a worrisome point that, yes, we were talking about huge Nigerian exports. A larger share of those exports are controlled by foreigners, as you very well know. How did we get it wrong with regard to our protocols for export?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Kingsley. In 2015, or was it? Yeah, 2015, at the Nigeria Economic Summit, I listened to the Vice President. I was moved, and I actually, my faith jumped 1,000% when he was talking to the federal government agencies, ministries, departments, and agencies, and said that when his government came in, they discovered that there was no interagency cooperation. He talked about silo mentality.
That's correct.
And it is the silo mentality that is the bane of our growth economically across sectors, including non-oil export sector. On Export Digest, I have said it 1 million times. The truth is, in the last administration, of which I was a privileged, even though not a happy part of right now, the ministers of agriculture and trade for 4 years only met at Federal Executive Council. They made sure that they never agreed on any issue. And I told you, sir, before we came into this studio this morning, that if Ministry of Agriculture and Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment will work together, Nigeria will forget oil in 6 months. I can give you practical things to do that will transform Nigeria's economy to non-oil within 6 months. When Ministry of Agriculture is acquiring all the plantations, oh, fantastic dreams you have, fantastic strategies, fantastic. You can't beat the agricultural transformation agenda and strategy. It's the biggest blueprint, the best in the whole world. But it does not have a marketing orientation at the end. And it should not be at the end. It should have started from the beginning. I'm going to acquire plantation in Uromi for palm oil. Who is my market? I'm going to acquire 100 hectares of land in Kachia for ginger. Who is the market? It's the job of the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment through the Nigeria Export Promotion Council. The problem, I think, I don't know, I'm just talking as an expert now. Why the zero oil plan is not reaching you or Mrs. Yelong, is the fact that it is targeting products that have established empirical 20 billion value. The Nigerian export space right now does not have one exporter who has 20 billion export capacity. So, like Madam in Kaduna is saying, and I have a practical answer to her. About 7 years ago, Senegal discovered the potential of shea butter. They went to the Spanish government. I was there at the inauguration. I was in Dakar. At the inauguration of the Senegalese government strategy for the development of rural women shea butter industry. Today, there is a brand, only one brand, Planter, not Planter butter, that we know. Is Planter that is made by Senegalese rural women. It is shea butter. And the government took it. So if the Nigerian export intention takes one product, first and foremost, we take one as pilot and we concentrate all our energy on it. We go deep rather than wide.
Rather than saying one product, one state, one product, or one local government, one product.
And make sure that we develop an not international, across the nation brand. And the whole nation becomes a cluster. It doesn't matter from what state of the federation. The whole nation becomes a cluster for the production of that particular product for export. Then we will develop...
Export for an identified market.
For an identified
which
market.
Can also be grown in future.
Thanks, Kingsley. Which brings me to the issue of Walmart. I have said it 1,000 times. Thank you for bearing me out. From the 6th to the 9th of July 2016, I was in Walmart Global Headquarters in Bentonville. I sat with the Global Procurement Director of Walmart. And they told me they are not ever going to work in Nigeria. Walmart is buying products from Nigeria right now, for your information. They are buying through a South African company. Because Walmart is not going to lend its name to an unpredictable, unreliable source of supply.
Mr.
And that's the reason why we are losing out on that market.
You have raised all these issues, and they're fantastic. You know, from your explanation, it does seem that we have not gotten it right in this direction for a very long time. Now, what solution would you prefer? You know how we operate in this country. You know how Minister of Agri operates, and of course the Export Promotion Council and all of that. Now, what can be done? What architecture can be put in place now to be able to build a synergy between these two very important, agencies of government that could trigger the proper approach that you have been talking about? What can be done? Let's propose solution.
Only one thing. Only one solution. A cabinet-level export promotion committee.
Promotion or the export development?
Export development, sorry. Export development.
To borrow your phraseology, yes.
A cabinet-level export development task force, since we love to do things by fire by force. Let it be a task force that is cabinet level. That is actually the nucleus of the Obama export initiative that Trump could not throw away. That is going to be there until 2021 and probably to be extended for another 9 years. It takes care of all of this. It's not only agri and trade. It's also the Ministry of Solid Minerals. It's also the Ministry of Science and Tech. It's also the Ministry of Education, because Nigerians are not aware yet of the huge volume of services exports. We are talking about negotiating EPA. I raised the issue in Kaduna last week. Nobody is talking about the very heavy potential of Nigeria to export. What we are doing here, NTA is an export potential in terms of services, if we get it right. So if we have, again, to emphasize the answer to your question, a cabinet level under the logical supervision of the vice president, who is the head of the economic team. The same way that we now have clinics moving around the country.
For SMEs.
For SMEs. Where we now have a cabinet level export development task force that meets once a month or once a quarter with the vice president. Then they will have no choice than to work together.
Femi, thanks a lot for your thoughts. But how does this synchronize with a team already established for ease of doing business?
Well, ease of doing business addresses the entire business environment.
Okay.
I'm sorry I coined a word. Nigeria, please forgive me. But I coined a word that I call comitocracy. That's operation by committees.
Yes.
Before you say Jack Robinson, we have formed a committee. Committees are not the answers to anybody's problem. Committees don't address what Mrs. Yelong is going through in Kaduna. They don't address what the people who went to farm cassava, even state governments. And now that I mentioned state government, sir, I don't know whether it is the work of the Ministry of Agriculture to go and be acquiring the land. I think better, with due respect, that the Ministry of Agriculture should be supporting private farmers to acquire the land and plant this thing. It is not the Ministry of Agriculture that will plant the rubber.
Kadri, what's your reaction?
What's your take? My reaction is that, you see, agriculture requires huge investment. It must be private sector led, but government enabled. You are talking of land development. Most of the people, most of the investors we have in Nigeria, nobody is willing to invest his huge sums of money on agricultural land development. I was in Dangote's farm in Cross River years back. You can't believe that to clear 1,000 hectares, it cost the man a fortune. You see the bulldozers and all the rest of them. These are areas where government needs to assist the private sector to develop. And then when they develop, when agricultural land is developed, you also notice that, let me also add this point, especially for plantation agriculture, you need innovative financing mechanism, because for tree crops, it takes quite a number of years, 3-4 years before you begin to get returns. So there is no bank in Nigeria today that is going to offer you credit for plantation agriculture. And so as a private person, how do you approach a bank when the bank is not even interested in giving you loans, even for arable crops? Talk less. He's only buying and selling.
Those are the things that, let's say, a Council on Export Promotion and Development, will, well, maybe the orientation will change. Somebody will tell you that we already have the Export Promotion Commission or Council or some such name. I would like us to just explore a little bit further what needs to be done, because we've talked about it. I mean, we can see how the supermarket chain has grown in Nigeria over the years. You walk into the supermarket, it's only in recent years that you started seeing products that are made in Nigeria, but mostly these are products coming from elsewhere. Walmart, of course, one of the biggest around the world, and then you also have them, elsewhere, around the world. Why is it that we still have foreigners dominating the export market, export of ginger, export of shea butter? They go around, the rural communities, scoop this up, whatever. Of course, they have lower costs in terms of the financing and so on and so forth. What can we do, to get our people to key in at this level? And then ultimately, when they make money, they can also now begin to invest in value addition very quickly.
That is why we're encouraging that agriculture has to be government enabled and private sector driven, because there are a lot of investment that is required. When you, for example, you want to establish, look at Nigeria today in juice manufacturing. All the locally produced juice plants, for example, they have shut down, including Fuman in Ibadan. The only one that
shut down?
Yes, it has shut down. And meanwhile, it was taking pineapple from local producers and so on, and it was using it was not using concentrate, it was using guava, it was using mangoes, it was using pineapple produced locally in Nigeria. Real fruits. But now it is only another company alone that is operating in the market, which is a foreign company that have access to cheap funds, that have access to machinery.
Mr. Nicola, time is not on our side anymore. We have said it all. Yeah, from Mr. Boyede's analysis, we understand that we have to go back to basics if these things are going to be gotten right any time soon. And so now we have some tweets, before we round off this edition of the program. And I have the first one from Iguando Tone Jeff. Mr. Zago has actually left, but he was asking how can Mr. Ezeagu quickly name the 15 products, and how far have they coordinated with the government on this? One state, one product.
Wilson Godwin tweets, I think we will need to revamp our industries and storage facilities first so that we can process our produce for exportation.
Now, James Uluwatoshi said exportation of all these agri-produce can be possible if government should be involved in the farming, just as it did in rice.
Chris Simeon, government should provide high agricultural inputs to farmers in order to make our exports meet international standards.
Now, Kachala Mala says, let government key into area of primary processing of agricultural produce to their export qualities.
And then Ifeinwam and Brabra tweets, product development and financing are key to Nigerian export business.
And Dele Jackson Solomon, good moderators, be that as it may, we are not into manufacturing. Thus, agriculture is the best prospect industry sector for our dear country.
Aziz Tajuddin tweets, agricultural value addition is the way out, and it must be done by PPP.
All right, I think that's all we can take for now.
Yeah, well, you still have this this last one, actually, from Alex Shiwan. It says, Moringa seeds and products, still remain the higher agricultural produced by Raw Materials Development Council. Well, that's Moringa, which has been added. We didn't have time to discuss that. So, but we're pressed for time now.
I think I should ask Mrs. Nyelo to do her last thought on this.
Yeah,
yes, your final thought on this program, madam.
Well, unfortunately, Kirian, the signals we're getting from Kaduna seem to be poor. We can't immediately accommodate our thoughts, but we'd like to thank her, Mrs. Rufina Nyalong, of course, who is the MD CEO